You're listening to Small Business Talk with Jerry. Sit in on great conversations with entrepreneurs who risk everything chasing the American dream.
Is more of a facilitator to say, all right, teach me about your business.
Right. Well, and so that's where I want to be with this, is just there's so many people that want to be in small business.
Right.
And they're scared to do it. They don't have the money to do it. They don't think they have the money to do it. They don't think they have the wherewithal. Maybe they've had a small business and it didn't go well.
Yeah.
Or their neighbor, their dad, their brother had a small business and they took it in the shorts.
Yeah, it's funny because one of the things you said about mishaps was my dad was a small business owner.
Okay. What did he have?
He was in the ready mix business. And I remember when I was a kid, we were wealthy, right? I mean, we had cars and boats and my dad, and it failed years. He was in it for a long time, but it failed, and he failed from competition.
Sure.
Right. Free market. But so I kind of saw, two different ends of a success, and then a slowly dwindling, dying business, where at the end it was basically just my dad running a ready mix business. Sure. Right. So my perspective on success and failure are both ends of the spectrum. So I get it. To your point, people, they don't know what they don't know, and they're scared to death.
Well, that's absolutely right. And my thought is, doing this podcast, I'm hoping that we can bring in interesting people, small business owners that have had the gamut. I mean, successful, not so successful, huge small business, which sounds like a misnomer, but you know what I mean? It's,
yep.
But, the IRS calls a small business anything under 250 employees.
Right.
If I have 250 employees, I don't feel very small.
That's a big business.
That's a big business, in my opinion. But my point is, what I want to help people with is so many people on the fence that want to do something, and maybe they'll never do it, but they're on the fence, they're thinking about it. I want them to be able to listen to this series, this podcast, and experiences of other small business owners and push them over the edge. Now, this is going to sound rude, but I couldn't give two shits whether they, whether they go into business or they don't. What I want them to get from it is the decision.
Well, and I also think that they could derive whether or not should they do a business by themselves, or should they have a partner, or should they have multiple people involved? Because you may be sitting there might be somebody out there sitting there, I got a great idea. I have this idea, but I have no idea how to go about it, but I think it works. So, okay, well, do you just kind of throw caution to the wind and try it?
Yep.
Or do you seek out a business mentor or someone that you can lean on for their experience and wisdom as far as when it comes to how to run or how to scale a small business?
Right.
Because one of the things, and I'll harken back to Mosquito Squad, there are so many things that I did not know.
Let's pause.
Yeah.
We should introduce you.
Oh, yeah.
This is our first podcast, and introduce me. Craig Hauswag is with us here today. This is our first podcast. We kind of got off chatting, but this is Small Business Talk with Jerry. I'm Jerry Fossum. I've got a handful of businesses myself. They all do pretty well. We're pretty happy with where they're at. But this first podcast, Craig and I are just going to kind of chat about what we want to talk about in the podcast, what we want to accomplish with this podcast. Craig has had jobs. He's owned a Mosquito Squad. As he mentioned, his dad owned a Ready Mix. So small business is in the family. And along with, I'm going to mention a few other folks here. We've got a friend of mine, Keenan. I know Daniel wants to be involved, and Craig. And these guys are going to be co-hosts at times. They're going to be guests at times. You're going to get to know these guys. They're going to come around. I'm going to be here most of the time.
I hope so. I mean, it's your house.
Well, it is in my house, so it's going to be weird when I'm not here. You'll know somebody's in my house. But I'm all for being a guest and having one of you guys or a couple of you guys being the host. So we'll kind of shake it up a little bit, but I want to keep it interesting. And the people that leave terrible comments will probably make fun of you. That's just
Absolutely, we will absolutely make fun of you.
Yeah, it's almost necessary.
Yeah.
So, and don't get me wrong, we will do things that will deserve terrible comments. So that's understood. But yeah. So Craig, tell us a little bit about you.
Yeah. So like I said, I grew up in. My dad was a small business owner. He owned a ready mix. At the time, a very successful one. It was multiple trucks and had a road crew and dump trucks and loaders and all that stuff. And then competition came to town, and it just slowly died over a course of several years. But he kind of finally sold out at the end when I was in high school. My parents were divorced, and my mom and my stepfather owned a restaurant. So small business, yep, which is. Woofda. That's a tough one.
I have no interest in the restaurant.
And I was in the restaurant business in the corporate world. I worked for a large pizza chain, and that was going to be my career path, ironically. But I'm kind of skipping forward here, but like one of the things is why we do it, right? That you want to know. And part of it was for me that I vowed never to go back into the corporate world, and there's a million, there could be a million reasons why not to. Everybody has their reason. But, I was your consummate corporate guy. Like, yeah, I'm going to do good for you, until they didn't want me to do good for them anymore and closed my restaurant. And then I was out of a job. Yeah. So I've seen
it doesn't take long to figure out that loyalty is a one-way street.
Exactly correct. And so that really put a real sour taste in my mouth. And then, and so that was, I grew up in Iowa. Don't hold that against me, people. I grew up in Iowa. I did not choose to be born there.
Unless you're from Iowa, then we think you're great.
Yeah. Yeah. You guys are awesome. Idiots out wandering around. Who
doesn't love corn? I mean, really.
That's true. We gotta use. It's in a lot of stuff that we like.
It's in a lot of stuff.
Right.
Now, I'd rather eat flour tortillas than corn tortillas. But other than that, corn's spot on.
Right.
Yes, and this is what you can expect from this podcast. So just for the record, you might want to tune out.
But. Yeah. We moved to Rochester. My wife and I moved to Rochester, and I again went to work in the corporate world, and saw the writing on the wall, so to speak, when it was, I'm pretty good at breaking down a P&L, so I could see the numbers, and I'm like, this numbers ain't working. So I left. Math. So I left, and within a year, that business closed. Now, one could say it was because of me that it closed.
Right.
Or one could say that there was other things going on that made it not work. I mean, you choose what you want to believe, but I know what I believe. But so that was my first kind of step into the small business world, because then I bought Mosquito Squad, which was a franchise, and it was a struggling business when I bought it.
So it was. Your area or your franchise was up and running. You didn't start it.
Correct.
You bought an existing.
Yep. And the guy that I bought it from really, he just did not. He didn't work the business at all. Okay. He mainly bought it for himself, just because he wanted to use it for his own.
He wanted to use the product.
Yeah. So he didn't scale it at all. So I owned that for 4 years, and I grew it, and I sold it. And we don't need to get into this podcast. It'll come up. I guarantee another podcast it'll come up. But I'll say part of the reason that I don't still own it today was employees, which every single small business is going to and still struggles with today, and even way back then. And
employees are your most expensive piece. They're the hardest thing to manage. Absolutely. And now, today, I mean, we're in 2023. Nobody wants to work.
No.
I mean, trying to find an employee
there's a lot of metrics out there that people can point to, I'm sure, but as far as the cost of training an employee, the turnover of employee, it's such a huge number. So that goes back to why we do it, why we do a small business, because of that. But at some point, if you want a scalable business, you've got to have employees.
Right.
And I think a lot of people get into a business thinking, this is going to be great because I can do it. But then you can't.
You can't.
Because other things need your attention.
Well, my and we'll get into this at other podcasts too, I guarantee it. What I try to tell folks is, when you do that exact situation, well, I can open this business because I can do it. Okay, you own a job. You don't.
Yeah.
I mean, you can by law, by technical, by you own a business. The IRS is going to tell you own a business. The Secretary of State is going to tell you own a business. But if you are trading your hours for dollars, you own a job.
Right.
That's it. And there's, I can't say there's more security. We're not in the 1950s anymore. There's no security in having a job anymore. Like I said, the loyalty, we just talked about that. That's a one-way street, and it's not going your way.
No. And I also think with owning a small business is you don't really, nobody knows, I don't think, unless you've done it, what it entails. You don't know, like I said, earlier, you don't know what you don't know. You don't know, okay, I'm going to build this widget because I think I can. Great. But how do you market that widget? How do you employ people to build that widget for you when you want to take a vacation, or when you want to you got to go talk to customers or whatever? And that's the thing is, I think successful business owners are really good at kind of the 50,000 above. They're 50,000 feet and able to see everything and give a little control as the business grows. I think where people struggle is delegation and giving up control, because nobody's going to love it as much as you. Right. Nobody is going to do it as well as you. Right.
That's why you never buy a rental car. Nobody drives a rental car like they drive their
That's own. Exactly correct. Yeah. Yeah. So I think that's a big thing with people that are trying, that may be listening to this and say, I have this idea, but I just don't know where to start. And hopefully over the course of this podcast, we'll give some people insights of people that, to your point, have been successful, have failed, and maybe then success, right? Because a lot of people have probably started a business, failed, started another one, and been successful.
Well, a friend of mine, I've known him since high school, and that's been a few days ago. So I was on the phone with him when you walked in tonight.
Yeah.
Okay. His name's Scott Krause. Great guy. He had his furniture business. He works for a company now, but he's in sales. So that is as close to owning your own business as you can be without actually owning the company.
Correct.
Because, nobody's telling him to get out of bed in the morning. Nobody's telling him to go on sales calls. They want him to sell. But at the end of the day, he's got to be self-motivated, because nobody's in the truck with him telling him, hey, you should stop here. You should go get a new client. It's not owning a business, but it's like it.
Yeah.
And like I said, he owned a furniture store. He's very good at reading people. He's very personable. But this is exactly one of the things that we talked about. If we're going to try and reach out to the folks that want to be in business or think they want to be in business, but they haven't made that decision, listening to this podcast, hearing others' experiences, failures, successes, we're going to answer a lot of questions for those people.
Yeah.
And more importantly, we're going to answer questions that they don't even know they need to ask, because you can't.
That is incredibly important.
Yes.
That is incredibly important.
Because like I said, you can't know what you don't know. And everyone has this idea that we know the questions to ask, we just need the right answer. There's no playbook.
Yeah.
No one is telling you that you already know the questions. The answers are hard when you know the questions. They're almost impossible when you don't know what to ask.
Right.
Yeah.
The question is the jumping off point.
Right.
The first point.
So I guess maybe a little something to address also about this podcast. The goal we're looking for is, like I said, to help people make some decisions on where they want to go. And when I told this to my kids when they were little, when you go out there and do something for the first time, and it's a wild success, that is an awesome feeling, right?
Correct.
That's fantastic. What did you learn? Nothing, right?
It was awesome.
Right, it was awesome. I'm awesome. That's what you get to say.
I'm so good at this.
I'm so good at this. And let's say you string a couple, 3, 4 of those events together, right, in a row. Now you're just even more awesome. But when that one fails, It's going to hurt, right? It's going to be a struggle. But the one that hurts is the one you learn from.
Hopefully.
Well, right. I mean, at that point, like I said, if being in business, if you have, I mean, I'm not saying you can't have anxiety or depression issues and be in business. I'm not saying that, but it doesn't make it any easier. Being in business is difficult.
And very hard.
Yeah.
And I don't think, and that's one thing that I don't think people really fully understand that until they do it.
Right.
They just, use the old adage, we talked about it earlier, it must be nice.
Must be nice.
Right? Must be nice to be able to take lots of vacations when you own the company.
Yeah, well, if you own the company, come and go as you please.
Yeah, I'll tell this. I'll tell a story, and I don't think you would mind. He's my buddy of mine. His name is Craig, and he's in the finance world, and he does very well for himself. But he has worked at it a long time, and he has ground and grinded in that world, and he's very successful, and he lives well, and you know what? And he's very humble. But he had an employee one time talk about. I don't remember what the full background story was, but this employee came to him and said something, about it, and Craig just said, "Look, this is how it is, and this is why." And her response was, "Well, that's easy for you to say when you're rich and when you're the boss." And he was so taken aback by that because he just didn't know how to respond to that because because a lot of his employees saw what he has done to get there, and they understood it, and they understood that like they were kind of going to get there too, but this employee wanted it right now. And just didn't understand the grind that goes on running a small business. And he's in the finance world, right? I mean, so that you're not building cabinets. You're not. Right. I mean, it does not matter.
Yep.
And
and you can lose that in a second.
Oh, absolutely.
Business. Yep.
And
that's
the
risky.
must be nice mentality I think are reserved for those that don't understand nor want to understand what it takes to get to must be nice.
Right.
We should name this Must Be Nice.
Oh, we could. That would have been great. Must Be Nice podcast. Yep. I have another good friend of mine, Caleb. This guy's one of the hardest working guys I know. Okay. Doesn't own his own business. I'm hoping to get him on the podcast anyway because he's with an organization in Rochester that helps out police officers.
Oh, nice.
And
we back our boys in blue.
That's right. You damn right we do. But he's a great guy and he works hard. And when you look at his career, what he's done, it's a lot. And I mean, he 2 tours, Afghanistan and Iraq, prior to coming home.
That guy.
Yeah, I mean he's a stellar human being when he's not being a dick. But that's all of us. You're welcome, Caleb.
You're a dick.
Yeah, you're a dick sometimes, but so am I, and that's just how it works, and that's how we get along. But he and I have this. We have another friend of ours that loves to must be nice, right? It's always you buy a new car, you whatever, right? It must be nice. Go on vacation. Put it on Facebook. It must be nice. And Caleb and I we go wild about it. And and this other friend of ours that does the must be nice, we usually shove it down his throat. And again, he's a nice guy until he's a dick, just like the rest of us. It's the same thing. We all get along, and it's never a long-term thing. But now it's become, here we fast forward 15, 20 years. Now it's become a thing where, it's like you talk about, we went out to lunch at McDonald's. Must be nice. So it's a big joke now. But he finally got it through his head that we busted our ass to get where we're at. Yeah. And whether you're a business owner, whether you're an employee, a W-2 employee, it doesn't matter. You still, if you put the effort in, it's going to get recognized at some point by someone, and you're going to be successful.
And that recognition may come from yourself.
Right.
You may, one of the things, we talked about is like, why do we do it? I think it's a couple things. One, there's a need that needs to be filled, whatever that is. And it doesn't exist or exists in a very small way, or you can do it better.
Yeah.
Or you figured out that you can do it better. And, and my background is customer service. And I mean, I was in the restaurant business too, like I said. So my background is customer service. I mean, if you work for a company as a W-2 employee,
Yep.
and you're like, you know what, this is bullshit. This guy treats his customers like crap.
Yep.
I'm going to do it better. Yep. Good. Go do it better. But just understand that, where that guy isn't like you don't walk into it.
Right. You don't just step into that level. And two, not that it makes it right or wrong, but sometimes you got to look at, in customer service, you can take a beating.
Oh, for sure.
If you're not with the right company, if you're not with a company that's going to support you, you can be as nice a guy and as great at customer service as you want, but if the company's not behind you, you're going to get your ass beat.
Yeah,
so many
and you got
times.
to have especially, and if you are in the customer service or in sales, you got to have a bit of a thick skin. You got to take some bullets because things are going to happen.
Yep.
Shit's going to break. I'm in my current role. I'm in a sales position now. Was putting out fires today, and I got to put out more tomorrow that I already know are going to flare up. So it's just the way it goes, and it's just the way it goes.
Yep. And that's what separates. When you go home at night at 5 o'clock, you punch the clock and you leave, and you can forget about it.
Yep.
And you don't forget about it. You know what you've got to do tomorrow, and you're mentally preparing for it. But you don't have to take a call. If your phone rings right now with one of those fires, you do kind of make that decision whether you take it or not.
For sure.
For
sure.
As a business owner, you have that ability to make that decision also, but that's a lot bigger decision.
Yeah. Well, at some point, you're going to have to take that phone call.
Right.
So
you're going to have to.
You got to decide.
Right. It's your name on the door.
Yeah.
Just take the call.
Yeah.
Yep.
Just take the call. Yeah.
Yep.
And and a lot of the times, you have to be able to assess what that fire is.
Right.
Is that fire going to be still just kind of simmering tomorrow morning? Because look, you probably know. I mean, you can get burnt out in a small business real quick. And I think we talked about our with Sammy earlier, right?
Yep.
I mean, she's got a lot on her plate right now, and wish her absolute best.
Yeah.
Sammy, listen to this. I am pulling for you and
absolutely
everything that you're doing.
And I don't know too many people. I mean, I have a lot of acquaintances in business, and I can think of very few people that could handle what she's putting herself through right now.
Very few.
Very few. Yep. So yeah, we're rooting for her. We talk to her quite often, and we offer to lend a hand. But boy, I tell you, that restaurant business scares the hell out of me.
It's so hard.
It is.
God bless her for wanting to do it, because she does well at it.
Yep.
But man, I mean, in this climate, like we talked about earlier with employees,
yep.
I mean, you can't. Now, I think, and I asked her about this actually. I got lunch when you and I were having lunch with her.
Yep.
She said, she's like, listen, I got good employees,
and
they are loyal. And I mean, now that's funny because we talked about the loyalty is a one-way street.
Yeah.
I think that only applies really in corporates.
Well, but I was going to say, we said that, and I said that to you when we were talking about being in a corporate job.
Yeah.
Small business, this is, okay, when we talk, we like to talk about how much we struggle, right?
Right.
The how many people are against you, how many people are sitting there with the club trying to beat you down. But there are things about small business, there's a reason why we do it. And it's not because I want to get my head beat in every day by taxes and by Kim Norton. And, there's a million of reasons why you shouldn't get in business.
Right.
But there's like 5 awesome ones to be in it, and that's one of them. You can actually walk into work and you can take comfort if you're the owner, if you treat your employees right? Be good to them and make sure that loyalty is not a one-way street that they can expect in that corporate world. You can feel good knowing that your employees actually like coming to work. And you're giving
and that they're going to do good for you.
Right.
That they're good. And this, I think this goes back to the fear is, there's it's out there. It's either a meme or a quote or whatever. I don't know, where it says like, train your employees good enough to leave, but treat them so they don't.
Yep.
And that is so true, because if you have good employees, now that can be also a double-edged sword, because if your good employee now says, I'm going to go do it better than you.
Yep.
Well, that's that's just the way the world works. And, hopefully you can say, you know what, I wish you the best. But there's room for both of us. Excuse me. There's room for both of us. And hopefully, you go out and do what you want to do. But the loyalty thing, like you said, is very important in the small business world.
It is. It's way different. And now, you and I had this conversation before where we talked about recognizing opportunities.
Yes.
You tell that story about now you've taught an employee how to be very good at what they do. And now they look at you and say, I can do it better than you. That is an opportunity.
Yeah.
Because you obviously own a small business that this employee works at. You obviously think they've done a good job and they think they're good at it because they're ready to compete with you. Excuse me. That is, to me, that's a fantastic opportunity to franchise, to double your space, to give him his own store, his own restaurant, his own whatever.
Or give him some ownership in
or to give him some ownership in what you're. I mean, let's face it. If you've taught an employee, this is not going to be 100%, but chances are you're the elder. Yeah. And I mean in age, not just not in intelligence, not in experience, but probably at least experience, but definitely age. When I have a young guy that works for me or a gal, whatever, I've got someone younger than me that's really takes the bull by the horn, has the enthusiasm, has that work ethic, and I teach them. You don't teach them half of what you know so that you're always a step above.
Yeah, right.
Because that's a thing. I mean, that's a thing.
For sure.
And it's a thing in the corporate world. Supervisors don't want to be outdone by their employee, and a lot of small business owners are very narrow-minded and they don't want to be beat up by their employees. They don't want to be, and so I think you take that as an opportunity to now we can expand. Or even if we don't expand, I'm getting old.
Yeah.
I'm ready to take some time off.
Yeah.
And I need you here. But that whole, I can do it better and I'm going to compete with you, that, and again, nothing we say here, just to put the record on this, nothing we say here, none of us believe it's 100%. There's no such thing as 100%.
Nope.
Right? But I think a lot of where that comes from, and it happens all the time where I can do it better than you, I'm going to go start my own, that's an underappreciated employee also. And I'm
I think so.
Majority of the time.
Yeah.
I think that's, if you use that as your rule of thumb, you're going to be right more than you're wrong.
Yeah, you bring up a good point with when you have a business, what's your exit strategy, right?
Right.
So if you've been in it, for how long have you been on Broadway?
This is our 20th year.
20th year.
Yeah, our 20th year. Darla and I have been in there together 20 years.
Yeah, so if you own a business, and you've got a young mechanic or someone that wants to own that business, well, that is an opportunity for you to exit that business, and you've created a monster, if you will, that someone that knows the business and wants to run it as well as you do. Yep. So that's a very good point. Like as far as spotting opportunities. My
favorite question to ask business owners when we're chatting is their exit strategy.
Yeah.
And one, I asked it originally. I started asking people that because I wanted to know. Right. I want to know how they're getting out because I'm looking at myself years ago going, I have no idea. Someone would ask me, well, when, are you going to sell it? Or are you going to, It's like, I don't know. I don't know. What are you going to do? And are you showing enough money?
Burn it to the ground?
Right. Yeah.
Collect insurance?
I just go walk out the door one day and lock it. That happens a lot too.
It does. Yeah.
People just walk out the door and they're like, I don't know what to do.
I think exit strategies depend on also, where that business is at. A 3 to 5 year exit strategy is different than a 25 or 30 year exit strategy.
Oh, absolutely.
So
absolutely.
If you have a business that you have or that you want to start, but that maybe it's scalable, maybe it's not, whatever, but you think you can build it from ground up and then sell it, that exit strategy is, there should be mapped out.
Right.
When it goes back to what someone really doesn't know is have you put a business plan together?
Right.
Have you set revenue goals or production goals so you know where you are at, so you have a measuring stick of where things are at?
Yep.
Because how do you know if you're getting better?
Right. And if you're opening a business where you have to go get an investor or you have to go to the bank, right? You need money that you don't have. You need capital. You need working capital. Whatever, startup money. When you put a business plan together, I'm not saying, again, not 100%. Some people do this. But when you go to the bank, when you go to an investor, when they look at your business plan, they don't ever get to the end and go, "Where's your exit strategy?"
Right.
Right.
Good point.
Nobody asks you that. And
That's a very good point. I mean,
right. You think about that. I mean, if you're asking me for $1 million, $10 million, $50,000, I mean, I'm telling you, there's all kinds of people out there.
Jerry has the million, by the way.
He doesn't. It's just monopoly. I love Boardwalk, but I mean, you look at this. It's $50,000. It's a lot of money. Right?
Yeah.
And to some people, that $50,000, it might as well be $1 million, right?
Yep.
It's just not attainable for some folks. It's just not, or it seems like it's not. It's that big number, or then you start looking at. Sadly, you start looking at what $50,000 buys.
Not much.
Not much. And so now you want to start a business, and let's say you're going to start your business, and you can start it with $50,000. Okay, you're probably not going to have revenue day one.
Nope.
You're probably not going to have a paycheck day 7 or day 4. You say you're going to pay every 2 weeks. Day 14, you're going to get a paycheck.
Yeah.
I mean, it's possible. Not saying it won't, but it's not likely. And so now you go and borrow $50,000. So back up. Let's say you've got $50,000 in the bank.
Yep.
Okay, you're fortunate enough to have $50,000 in the bank liquid that you can spend. Going to take $50,000 to start your business. You can't spend that. You can't spend that $50,000 you've got in the bank, because not if you're going to start that business, you're going to work it, because you spent that money in the business. Day 14 of that business being open, who's buying your groceries?
Yeah.
Right.
It's big of your mortgage
Right.
payment.
Day 30, when that mortgage payment's due, who's making the mortgage payment?
Yeah.
And I mean, your kid's going to want shoes. I mean, they're needy.
Kids. Stupid children.
But my point is, so you got $50,000 in the bank, and you need $50,000 to start your business. Well, you're going to need that $50,000 to live on.
Yeah.
And now, but again, you go to the bank and you ask for $50,000, you ask for $2 million, whatever the number is for what you're doing. No one is going to ask you, well, after we give you this money, how are you going to spend it? They're all asking you that, how you're going to get their money back. Nobody asks you how you're getting out.
That's a good point. I don't think that's ever, when I bought, I mean, I learned a lot owning Mosquito Squad. I never thought that.
Yeah.
What am I going to do? Was I going to run it till I'm 75 years old and then call it a day?
Right.
Step my foot in the grave.
Right. And when you're
if I make it to
75,
75, I'm on borrowed time, folks. I'll tell you that right now.
you're not making it to 75.
Hell no. No way. Jesus.
You know what? If you make it to 75, and if wherever I'm at on your 75th birthday, I probably won't be here.
Yeah.
Right. I'll have to reach from the grave. When you turn 75, if you just see a piece of paper or you see a writing on a wall that says "must be nice," that was
the sign right there.
That's the sign.
You know what? That gives me something to work for now.
That's right. So now maybe
I got to make it to 75.
It'll be somewhere. You'll walk in one day and go, "Son of a bitch."
Yeah. That son of a bitch is talking me from the grave. Yeah. But no, I never had the exit strategy. I never even thought of it.
No, and so that's why I say, I used to ask exit strategy because I wanted to know what your plan was, and then see if I could steal it, right? If I could, can I use that? Can I evolve or modify your exit strategy to meet mine? And what I found out was, it's like me asking most business owners about their exit strategy is like putting a push sign on a pull door. It's just hilarious, right? It just makes me happy because I ask them, and you get that blank stare like,
never thought of it.
Well, I'll probably sell it. Really? So you worked your whole life, you built this business, you put your entire life savings, for a lot of folks, your blood, sweat, and tears, all these hours in it, and you'll probably sell it. That's the answer you have. That's how much thought you put in it.
Right.
But I'm the same way. My first business, didn't think about it at all.
Another thing, too, is, we all think that what we own is worth more than what it is, right?
Right.
So, I mean, listen, I love my wife. So, honey, if you listen to this, I love you. But, if you own a car, you think that thing's worth $50,000. If you're buying that same car, you think it's worth $25,000. Yeah. And so that, I mean, again, exit strategy. If you want to sell it, fine, great.
Yep.
Well, how much are you going to sell it for?
Yeah.
Well, $1 million.
Yeah.
It's not worth $1 million, or maybe it's worth $2 million.
Right.
I mean, how do you know? I mean, you got to know those. That's to your point. You got to know the question before you can get the right answer.
Right.
And nobody really thinks about an exit strategy. It's a very good point. Yeah.
And I listen to a lot of the old timers. They like to, which I guess I'm an old timer.
I'll say you're an old timer. What are you talking about?
I remember my grandma. off subject, but it'll I don't know. She always used to sit. We'd visit a nursing home.
Yeah.
Right. And she'd be in her wheelchair because she couldn't walk. I mean, she's old and hadn't walked in years. And we'd say, "How's your day?" Surrounded by all these goddamn old people. How do you think my day is? That's what she would say every time she would look around, just that sideways look. And I'm surrounded by all these goddamn old people. How do you think my day is going? It's like, okay, well,
you're old, Grandma.
Yeah, you're old. You are an old person, Grandma. And it's like, yeah, but she was unique, to say the least. But yeah, that was her answer, was surrounded by all these old people. It's like, so yeah, as an old timer now, they would always talk about what it means to be successful.
Yeah.
And the people that are making mad cash, they'll talk about the things that make them happy, right? Whether it has to do with the money or not, it's not the important part. It's what makes them happy. The people that aren't making money tell you it's all about family, and it's all about family time, and it's all about this, and which it should be, but that's not the question, right? That's not the answer. It's the question and the answer don't always go together like that. And family is number one, and it should be for all of us. But when we're talking about business, I'm not asking you how much time you get to spend with your family. We're talking about your business.
Right.
But then you go the other way too. You've got the guys that, like I was when I was younger. The wife was at home and she was taking care of things, and not that makes it okay, but I didn't see my role nearly as important at home as I did in the business. But in my head, I'm like, I need to make this work. I need to provide for my family. So me being a good dad was making sure there was money in the bank. There was, salami in the refrigerator, right?
Salami? Who the hell eats salami?
Well,
Jesus.
It was a long time ago.
Could you splurge some ham or turkey?
Not bad. Not bad. We were struggling,
so,
man. We were trying to get going.
So let me ask you this. This that just came right. So, okay, so we're old timers. So what about somebody? So to your point, I mean, like, you gotta choose how much time and effort you want to put into that business, right? So I'm not trying to pick on the younger generation here, but a lot of the younger generation, do they have that drive? Do they have that bully mentality to say, you know what, I'm going to work the 50, 60, 70 hours a week because I'm going to make this business? Now, some of them do, and they might, so they want to be out by the time they're 30. They're 22, 23 years old, start a business, whatever, and they're like, you know what, I'm gonna work my ass off until I'm 30, and then I'm gonna either sell it or I'm gonna step back, and then I'll start my family. I mean, the mentality between us here at the later end of our lives, to young kids, young people that want to start a business, but like, do they know? Are they willing to do that?
And it's easy to think you are. I was going to say it's easy to say you are.
Yeah.
But that implies that they're lying, and that's not the point. Now some do.
Yeah.
Again, but my point is not that I think they're lying when I say that. My point is you think you're willing to do that
until you have to do it.
Until you have to do it, and even if you're willing to do that, what happens when the wife or the husband? Because there's a lot of women entrepreneurs out there that are just killing it.
Yep.
So, but what happens when you set this plan and everything is roses, right? Then you get to reality, and it's like, okay, I can't get done in 40 hours what I thought I could get done.
Yeah.
Or maybe you're just more successful than you should have been right away, and you have more business and you need to spend more time. So now all of a sudden that 40 turns into 55, 60 hours a week, and now the wife, the husband, whoever's at home is in your ear, right?
Yeah.
Going, you're never home, you're never this, you don't love me, blah, blah, blah. Okay, that's going to happen.
Yeah.
Are you going to be, as a family, are you going to be able to handle this? Because you say you're going to, and you're not lying, you truly thought you were going to. But then when the outside, and then what happens when the husband or the wife, when their friends get involved?
Right.
Because those damn friends. Oh my God!
Friends are dumb.
Well, you didn't pick them. I mean, let's start there. Right?
Yeah, right.
You didn't pick them, but you got to listen to them.
Yeah.
But those are factors that come in, and you've got mother-in-laws, right? I mean,
Why are they gone again? Why? Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
how
a
come
good
not here
point.
doing, helping you?
Yeah.
And it's like, well, they want to make sure we make our mortgage. I mean, there's some of that going on.
That's a very good point. If you're single, right, it's probably a little easier, right? Because if you don't, if you don't have, if you can just eat salami,
Yeah, if you just eat salami,
then you're gonna kill it. But if you're single, the family. I mean, you got friends, and you got whether it's siblings or parents or whatever that you want to see, but those people are probably a little less important than, say, if you're married and
Right.
are children, for sure.
And now I know what the viewers are thinking of me right now when I'm doing the, the spouses. But
that is a reality. This is not a derogatory thing.
It's not.
Because I've been married for 26 years, so if you think for 1 second...
Which is really more of a testament to Jody than...
Oh, 100%, I was just to say that. If you think for 1 second that Jody did be like, I fucked up with this guy. I should have done this. You're wrong, right? I just tell a story like I was only like that was like the leftovers of what she had to choose from. That was the only reason. She grew up in a small town in Iowa. But so that's a reality.
But there's a flip side to this too. When you have if you're with the right Jody,
yep.
right? There's Caleb.
Oh.
I was on the phone. I need to not bring my phone in here. But the flip side of that is if you're with the right Jody, right? You're with the right spouse or girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever the case is. There is something to be said that when you worked your 65 hours last week and you just got your ass handed to you, right? And you ran into things you didn't even know were going to be an issue.
Yeah.
And now you've got to find solutions for things you didn't even know were problems a week ago. And you come home and you turn on your big screen with your Xbox on it or whatever you're doing,
Yep.
right? Or you go cry yourself to sleep with your salami sandwich next to you. There is something to be said about coming home to the right Jody who's like,
100%.
what's going on, babe?
Yeah.
And has your back and supports you and doesn't just go, well, that was a big fucking mistake, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Shouldn't have done that.
I'll go back to my buddy Craig, and he would tell you, like, I remember him telling me a story once early in his career, and he was driving. He lives up in Minneapolis or Lakeville now, but he was driving all over hell. Gone nights, weekends, because he was young, and that's when that's when he was trying to meet with people. And I remember him telling me one time his wife Nicole, and they've been married for 22 or 24 years, like that long time, just almost as long as Jody and I. And I remember him telling me one time, like, she was kind of chirping at him.
Yep.
And he just said, listen, honey, if I want to make this work, this is what I got to do.
Yep.
And fast forward now, 20 years where we've been doing it, right? I mean, the guy is, again, he's very successful.
Yep.
And to Nicole's credit, right, she stuck by him.
Yep.
And they've got 3 great kids. And she made that a home, and I mean, that's a big point, and it doesn't have to be the husband and wife. It can be the wife, like you said.
There's lots of very successful
entrepreneurs, and the
absolutely.
husband. And I'm not going to chide any male that's staying home and supporting their wife because she has a dream or she has an idea to build XYZ widget, and she's making it work. So it's the spousal situation is very important.
It is very important. And I think there's definitely times, I'm divorced. So, I mean, there's definitely times during that where I'm thinking, it'd be a lot easier if I was single.
Yeah, right.
And I was right.
Well, that one time.
That one time. I try not to make a big deal about it. I just, you've been in our networking meeting when they introduced me. They asked your marital status. Mine always says, happily divorced.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? So, and the funny part is I say that, but, we're still friends. I mean, it took a while to get there,
for
honestly.
Sure.
We weren't friends at the time of the divorce, but when I was building business, I will say that she was very supportive of that.
It's important.
It was a huge deal. And that, wavered as time went on, and not all her fault. I mean, it takes two.
Sure, sure.
And I was young, and I made a lot of mistakes. In the beginning, I wasn't a great dad. I didn't think that was the case at the time. Never threw anybody down a staircase. Never violence. Never.
You missed an opportunity there, didn't you?
But you know what I'm saying? It's like you never got violent. We weren't like badgering people or bullying them or anything. I just wasn't there.
Yeah, weren't present.
Yeah, I just wasn't there. But in my head, it's like, well, she was a good mom.
Yeah.
And I never had an issue with that. So it was always like she was there. She didn't bitch about it. She took care of the family, and I was able to go out and make a living. And like I said, there was always food in the fridge. The heat was always on, right? There was gas in the cars.
Right.
The kids had new backpacks when it was time for school. They had shoes. I mean, it was just, but I thought my spot was to be the provider, not the caretaker.
Yeah.
And as you get older, you start realizing you can do both. But
you can,
yep. But would I be where I'm at? Would I, and not that I have a lot, but I'm proud of what I've done. Stop. but I'm proud of where I'm at, right?
As you should be.
And where if I had shared the parenting duties more to her liking, would I have what I have today? Now a lot of people are going to take that comment and go, well, you selfish son of a bitch. You don't need what you have. You should have spent the time with the kids. And being the one that did it, looking back on it, I don't know that they're wrong. But
is there right or wrong? I don't know. How do you judge that? I mean, that reminds me of a friend of mine who was a teacher by trade, and he still teaches, but he does a lot of. He's a hustler, right? He does a lot of side stuff, and his wife makes good money, and they got 2 kids, and he told me once, he's like, I want to give my kids everything that I didn't have. So.
Don't raise assholes.
Huh?
Don't raise assholes.
Yeah.
Because that's what you do. I mean, like I say, not that you don't want to starve your kids, right? You don't want them going to school with holes in their shoes. And I do want to provide more for my kids than I had. But that's what creates weakness in our society, too.
Agreed. But I think that's within, when I say you want your kid to show, like, listen, you have to go to work in order to get nice stuff. Right? To get to it must be nice.
Right.
It's not handed to you.
No.
Kids or people in general.
And you don't, and I mean, again, not 100%, but you don't typically have that at 25.
No, you don't.
It doesn't. I had a conversation with one of my employees at Black Diamond Armory, right?
Yeah.
At the gun shop. Great kid. And intelligent. Okay? Very intelligent. Very well spoken, very intelligent. And one of the things we were talking about, just a multitude of things, small business being one of them. He's been doing his own clothing type businesses since he was 14.
Wow. Okay.
And he's killing it. I mean, he's a good kid. And I told him, I said, I know you're smarter than I am, right? But you're 19, I'm 52. I'm gonna outwork you every day. Every day. You don't have the work ethic that it takes to beat me. Now, that's not putting me on a pedestal. I also told him in this conversation, I said, what you can accomplish in 2 minutes, probably take me 20 minutes.
Right.
Okay? But if you don't spend the 2 minutes and I spend the 20 minutes, I'm
ahead.
kicking your ass every time.
Yeah.
Every time. Now, on the same token, that's the way you beat him down, right? I mean, talking to him, and he almost kind of looked, he's like, that makes sense. And he wasn't, it didn't lift him up, obviously, but he understood it. But then you follow that up with, and I mean this 100%. I think the world of this kid, and it's like you have so much potential. Oh, geez, hey, careful there. You have so much potential. I said, let's reverse that. What you can do in 20 minutes what you can do in 2 minutes takes me 20, right? You don't spend the 2 minutes, I spend the 20, I kick your ass. What happens if you spend the 20?
Right.
I can't beat you.
Right.
I can't beat you. If you decide tomorrow you're going to hustle with me, you're going to pace me with hustle. I can't beat you.
Yeah.
I just can't. So, but can you hustle? And that's the question that nobody knows they should ask. That's one of the big questions. Can I hustle?
Yeah, you asked me once when you kind of were putting this together, and I know we're running out of time here, but you asked me why.
I can edit out some of your stuff.
Huh?
I can edit out some of your stuff.
Right, yeah. All of it? You just want to hear yourself talk, you son of a bitch. Small business talk with Jerry. This is Jerry. So you asked me one time, and I thought about this. You asked us a while back, why I decided not to own, right, and be in sales or be an employee. It's a great question, and I'm going to be honest with you, and this is going to probably make me sound like an idiot, but it's the truth, is because I don't have that same hustle that you have, right? I'm a better employee than I am a business owner.
But you say that like it's a bad thing. It's not.
Well,
it's not a bad thing.
I don't know if it's bad or not, but I thought a lot about that. Like, why don't I own? Now would I like to own another business? For sure. If something came up, if I saw an opportunity, I would absolutely look into it. But and it's probably backwards thinking, but I want to do well for my employer. And I'm in a sales position, okay. So I'm on commission. So so the more
the better you do for them.
The more money I make
for you, right?
So there's an incentive there to do well. But I thought a lot about that, and then you're right. Like, you have that hustle mentality to do the time and put in the long days, hours, etc., weeks to make the business work.
Well, when that 20-minute job turns into 3 hours, that's your 3 hours.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So no, and that's the thing. I'll never try to tell everybody that I have all the answers, but I think I got more questions than most people do.
That's a fair assessment.
In small business. I mean, and that's the thing. I don't. If you're coaching someone, if you're mentoring someone, the big misconception, in my opinion, is that a mentor has all the answers for you. They don't, and they shouldn't. Nope. They shouldn't. If we're just here to make it, because that's just a guy that's here to make it easy for you, right? That's not how the world works,
right?
Because what are you going to do when that guy dies, right? I mean, when that guy
if he's no longer there to tell you what to do,
right? I mean, how many people do you know? We won't name names, which I want to really bad, but how many people do you know that? They're my age. They're our age, right? They're in their 40s, they're in their 50s, and their parents are still taking care of them, right? Yeah. What are they going to do when those people die? I mean, you want to talk about not being capable to be a business owner. That's it. That's where we start.
Right. You're not even capable of being a human.
No, I mean, I get that. That's not, you don't function that way. And I couldn't imagine, when your spouse passes away. It's a terrible thing, and it's something you got to work through, and it's someone you've relied on and you shared duties with, for years usually.
Thank God that Jody didn't die when my kids are young, because they probably would have died too, because there's no way in hell I'd have been able to raise my two boys without, because that's the male. This is getting off small business, but male mentality is like, school. I think you have school today. What time does the bus come, kids? Like, can you tell me? Because your mom used to put you on the bus. So the questions. Whoops, I'm getting away from the mic. The questions. I really like how you said, I have more questions.
Yeah.
Because questions spurs more questions and gets you better answers.
I want you to think about it. I can give you the. I mean, if I know the answer, I can give it to you. But now we're back to that whole thing. When you succeed your first time doing something, what did you learn?
Yeah, not
really
much.
Nothing. Not much. Yeah. Right. So you asked me a question, I give you the answer. What did you learn? You learned that I'm the guy that's going to solve your problems. You didn't solve your problem. You didn't. You
just gave me the answer.
Yeah, I just gave you the answer. You just know it's one of my favorites. This is small business. This is life. This is family. But it's like you get the list of what the kids ask mom. And it's just, it's a list as long as your left arm, and it's just all the ridiculous to the basic necessities to ridiculous. That's like questions for dad. Where's mom?
Yeah,
it's like that's it. I remember it's a Nate Bargatze.
That guy's funny as hell.
Oh, he is hilarious. But I thought I missed out on my career, my second career, because way back when my daughter was in school, this was way before Nate was anybody.
Yeah.
And I asked one of the guidance counselors, they gave us a form to fill out, her mom and I, and it was, name, mom and dad, and then phone numbers, mom and dad. And I was like, who made this form?
Right.
What the fuck are you going to do with the dad's phone number?
Yeah. I've seen that bit that Nate's talking about.
Right, he does that bit. But I mean, this was 20 years ago.
Yeah.
I'm asking the guidance counselor, who the fuck did this? I mean,
Right.
this guy didn't graduate, obviously. He doesn't have a family, that's for damn sure. I mean, who the fuck puts a dad's phone number on a school thing? What's dad going to do?
Yeah. That's true.
Yeah. So when he did that bit, I about lost it the first I heard that. I'm like, I said that out loud 20 years ago.
That's exactly correct.
But in small business too, if you're going to be a good mentor, you're going to help ask questions. They're going to spur thought, and they're going to, because we don't need to teach you how to do something. We can all figure out. I mean, YouTube University will teach us whatever we need to know, right?
Yeah.
Google and YouTube, we can solve all the world's problems with Google and YouTube, or I should say, learn how to do something on YouTube. What you need to teach someone is how to solve problems, and you solve problems by thinking. You've got to spur thought.
Yeah, that was just to say, you've got to ask the question, because the old cliche, right? Don't ask closed-ended questions. Don't ask yes or no questions.
Right.
Ask follow-up questions. Ask open-ended questions, so you can get to the root of whatever your problem may be, and find an actual solution, versus just saying, well, I think this.
Right.
Well, great. That doesn't, this goes back to the corporate world, right? You got some nerd sitting in a room somewhere that says, well, my piece of paper says that you should be able to do this, this, and this. And then you're like, hey, dumb fuck. In the real world, that doesn't work. And I'm telling you why this doesn't work. Yeah, but my paper says right here it should work.
But it's in a memo.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and if the guy writing the memo has not worked on the sales floor or on whatever your business is, if you haven't worked at the beginning level of that business, your opinion is not all that valid.
Agreed.
It's really not.
Agreed.
And
I think if you're going to take a direction, I've always thought this as a small business. So even in the corporate world, the boss or the CEO or the owner should never expect an employee to do something that they aren't willing to do themselves or haven't done themselves. Right. So, back in the restaurant business when I was in there, we had a thing called the grease trap. If anybody listening has been in the restaurant business, you know what the hell that thing is, and it's gross as hell.
Yep.
I'd clean it. I'd get down on my hands and knees, not that way, you sick bastard, and clean it. Dig it out with my hands.
Yep.
And because I wanted my employees to know, like, listen, I've done it and I'll do it. But when I asked you to do it because I can't, I expect you to do it.
Yep. I used to work at Kmart, right? In Rochester, back when I was a teenager. And George Meyer was the store manager. One of the nicest guys I ever met. And really a guy I aspired to try and... He always wore a suit every day to work.
At Kmart?
At Kmart.
Okay.
Yep. He was a store manager, wore a suit every day to work, suit and tie.
Did he buy it at Kmart?
I don't think he did.
Off the rack?
I don't think he did. No.
Doesn't believe in his own product.
It didn't have gravy on it. I mean, so was that.
Yeah, right.
But when he walked in a room, me as a 16-year-old working there, when he walked in the room or walked down the aisle, employees stood up straighter, right? That piece of paper that they'd been walking around for the last 3 hours, all of a sudden magically it was important to pick it up. And and so I wanted to be that guy. And
minus the suit.
No. Oh no, that suit was power. That suit was image. That suit was stature. So no, that was part of it. I was 16. I was like, I want to be that guy.
And wear the suit? You want to be? I mean, I understand what you're saying.
Oh yeah. When I was 16, I looked at George Meyer and went, "That's the guy.
Okay,
that's the guy." And he had a bunch of Nettie and Nancy and they had the assistant managers were under him, and they were all great people. I mean, they really were great people. Nettie, I run into her once in a while in town. And still, yeah. She's been around a while. She's a super nice lady, but when you went to work, she was hard on you. I mean, she was a crabby. We said she was a crabby old woman at the time. She was probably 40, that. But she was a crabby old woman at the time. But I'll tell you what, when she said jump, you said how high. And when you did something good, I mean, you didn't see her smile often, but she would make sure you knew that she appreciated what you did. And I as I got older, I started to understand that you can be stern and still be a good human being at the same time.
I was just going to say that, man.
Yep.
You know,
she was a mentor before I knew what a mentor was. You know, but real quick, with the George Meyer thing, the grease trap. When us as like teenagers would be like, I can't clean the grease trap. I've got my good jeans on. And he'd come back and he's like, I can clean that son of a bitch in this 3-piece suit. And it was a vested suit. I mean, always. He looked like $1 million when he came in. And he was like, I can clean that grease trap in this suit. I've done it. Now he said, if you want to work here, you do what's asked of you.
Right.
And, you know, and so the one day I asked Nettie, I said, you know, I never bitched. I did my thing. I've always tried to be a good employee, right? And I asked her, I said, he says that all the time. And she's like, I've seen it.
Oh.
She goes, and I'm like, seriously? And it just made me like it even more. And then it fast forward, which I'm sure we'll cover this in a future podcast, but one of my jobs, when I left, I vowed, I said, I'm going to own my own business. I'm going to do my own thing. I'm not going to wear another goddamn suit except funerals and weddings. I said, just because I respect the people, if I'm going to their wedding or I'm going to their funeral, I respect them enough to dress for it.
Yeah.
But I said, as far as anyone asking me to wear a suit to make a living, fuck you.
Yeah.
I'm out. So I see where you're saying. I mean,
that's why I said minus the suit.
Right. You've known that part of me,
Yeah.
but I'm talking about back when I was 16.
Gotcha.
I was like, this guy's it, you know? And when I'd see, and same thing, I worked for Champion Auto for a while, another ghetto company. But it's true. I mean, and you said, you know, you see the writing on the wall. When I left Champion Auto, they made it about 2.5 years after I left. But they didn't fail because I left. I knew they were failing. That's why I left.
Right.
I mean, you know,
Exactly.
Right. Just like you had said it, and you know that was. But yeah, that's where when I walked out of that, I was like, I'm never putting a suit on again unless it's out of respect for who we're burying or who we're burying as a couple.
Yeah.
Whatever. I mean,
right.
Whatever. But
yeah.
So
I want to just we'll end this right now, but if I had any advice to small business or just middle managers, even that or looking at maybe expanding. And this is a cliche. It's a quote, whatever. You know, people don't leave bad jobs; they leave bad bosses.
Yeah,
it's such a huge thing. And to your point, you know, you can be stern, you can be a dick if you need to be.
Yeah.
But if you got an employee or employees that do good, you gotta let them know that.
You gotta let them know that,
and you gotta say thank you and I appreciate what you've done, and leave it at that.
Right.
And because that's worth some dollars, you know, in the mental bank than it is in the actual piggy bank.
And a pizza party is not a replacement for a thanks, you did good. You know, I mean, you know what I mean? It's and the appreciation needs to equal what was going on. You know what I mean? It's
for sure.
I mean, you're at work, and if you sell a $2 million job, and they take you out.
Jesus Christ, I hope so.
Well, but you know, and then they take you out for pizza, right? For lunch, going, hey, good job, Craig. Boy. let's
you can get the large pizza if you want.
You know what I mean? It's one thing to be told you did a good job, but if you're gonna, my point is, I would, in that situation, I'd rather be told that I'm the man. That was awesome. That's great. Don't take me to lunch.
Yeah.
Right. Don't tell me I did a great job and then insult me with a $12 pizza.
Yeah. I don't need lunch. I can buy my own $12 pizza.
Yeah. Right.
I just sold $2 fucking million job.
$1 million deal. Yeah. Yeah. Right. So you know but that's my thing. It's like don't take away from the appreciation by doing something menial.
To cheapen it up.
Right. Cheapen it. Yeah. Don't cheapen it. You know.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying you got to take a guy out for filet mignon when they straighten the shelf out, but there again, that's not. You know, if the deal was getting inventory done, well then maybe taking the guys out for a night, great, right. or you go do a big group thing, whatever. But yeah, don't do something, don't have something big, and then poison the appreciation by
something small.
Yeah, something that just doesn't match.
Good point. Good point.
Well, you know, my goal here was to be 30 to 45 minutes. We're at 1 hour and 2, so I'm going to call that a win.
Yeah, it was good. I enjoyed it.
And I really probably should have stopped this somewhere and made sure that everything was working, that we have sound.
Well, I heard you, so...
Yeah, so I'm assuming it's recording fine, but anyway, folks, I I don't know how much we're going to edit out of this. Probably not a lot. But I hope you enjoyed this. This is what we do. And this is what we're going to do. And we're going to get more people involved. We're going to have roundtable types. We're going to have one-on-ones like this. You're going to see more of Craig. You're going to see more of me. And we'll introduce you to the rest of the crew as we go forward. So I hope everybody has a great night. And we'll see you next time.